All right. Good morning, everybody. Sorry for lost track of time here. Sorry, a couple minutes late getting on here. But yeah, we'll go ahead and get started here. If you got your questions, go ahead and post them. Um, should be below the video if you were on a smaller screen like a phone. If you're on a larger screen like a computer, should be to the right of the video. So Red Jen says, my floppy golf hat survived the washing machine, no problem. Fortunately, the sweat stains under the brim are still there. All right, thanks for the update. Yeah, so through the washing machine, it may not be getting enough concentrated. So, like I said, what I would recommend doing is saturate the hat with water, then take like some dish soap, like Dawn dish soap, like grease and grime kind of thing, and put some in your hand and rub it all over the hat. Work it into the hat, right? So basically, you'd be kind of like taking the hat and just, rubbing it in, right? Rubbing it in all over it, and then let that kind of marinate for a minute, right? And then, for probably like 5 minutes, basically. And then once you've done that, then I would run it under water, cool, like room temperature water, and just kind of try to get all the soap out of it. And once the water's running and there's not like suds coming out of it, then I would just like air dry it. That's what I do to clean the hats. That's why I find works the best. Sorry for those of you who were looking for golf advice. Red was on here asking how to clean hats, golf hats yesterday, because it's somewhat golf related, because it's, we all wear hats for the most part. But yeah, let's get back to the golf instruction questions here. So Mike K says, hi, I have completed the 20-minute shallowing fix. I have a two-part question. First question is, if I'm aiming at 12 o'clock, I keep hitting the ball straight between 10 and 11. It's not drawing or hooking, just go straight. Okay, I'm not really seeing the question. So you're saying, okay, so basically what that means is you're pulling it. You're still coming down steep, right? So basically you're pulling it is what you're saying, assuming that you're right-handed, right? Assuming that 12 o'clock is the target, right? So if 12 o'clock is that way, then 10, 11 o'clock will be that way. What causes that is a club path that is out in steep, and then your club face is in the direction of that club path. So you're still coming down steep if that's what's happening, or it's an alignment issue, right? You could be aiming. I see this all the time, where people just aim to the left and then they shell out the club, but then they're just hitting it straight left. So I would check your alignment, but most likely you're still coming down steep. You got to get that ball to start to the right and curve to the left, through drill number 2 there. And then second says, if I have an adjustable driver, should I place the setting in a neutral position? You can. You can set it in whatever position you really want for the most part. If you basically, a lot of it depends on what the ball flight that you're looking to have, and maybe the ball flight that you struggle with. So if you struggle with hitting slices and you don't want to slice, you may want to put it more in a draw position, right? If you're struggling with, overdrawing, then you may want to put it in a slice position, right? If you're hitting it relatively straight and you want to keep hitting it straight, I would put it in like a neutral position. So that's really what those are, and those don't do that much. So Chaz shared a link. Chaz, can you share with me why you're sharing this link? So this is about ball flight laws, the link that you sent. You have a question about ball flight laws? I'll be happy to help. Jazz says to help people understand what causes the ball flight they're seeing on the course. Oh, awesome. Thanks. Yeah, if anybody has any questions about ball flight laws, I'll be happy to help and answer any questions they have. One thing if this is something you want to understand, there's two things I'd recommend you do. If you haven't already, I'd recommend doing the ball striking masterclass course that we offer. It's We try to offer it every month or two. We haven't been offering it as much lately, so just be on the lookout in your email for an opportunity to sign up for this course. It's an online course; it's not an in-person course or anything like that, but it does involve uh, you know help from an instructor. So we can only offer it so many at a time. Um, but within that course, we help people really understand why the ball does what it does, what's happening at contact, and it gives you drills to help you work on that and to improve that. So I'd really recommend that course. Another thing that I would highly recommend if you want to understand ball flight laws is I'd recommend checking out TrackMan University. It is free. It is a free program. It's actually very well put together. I haven't looked at what Hack Motion has, kind of on their website or anything like that. But TrackMan University, just do a Google search, TrackMan University, 2 words, TrackMan University. It's free. You sign up. It gives you like all the informational video, and it actually gives you actually take quizzes to kind of like test your understanding of it, right? So it's a really, I would highly recommend checking that out. To be honest with you, that's really how I learned about a lot of it, or I kind of knew a lot of it already. I had a basic understanding of it, but that really helped me to gain a much better understanding of it. So that's what I would recommend is checking that out because I think it can really help um, a lot of people if you understand that. I think that's like I don't know very many like really good golfers that don't understand the basic ball flight laws because it's pretty essential to understand that. So that way you can continue to improve. So but anyway, yeah, let's keep, thanks for sharing, Chaz, appreciate it. Helped me self-diagnose what was causing the ball flight I hit at the time. Let's me, yeah. Yeah, so that's exactly why, Chaz is talking about exactly why that helps, because if you can understand, what's happening, right? You can understand, okay, that ball hooked. Well, why did it hook? Right? Well, it hooked because the club face was too closed. Well, then you can make an adjustment and play better instead of just, some people that I see, they'll start playing poorly and then they'll just hit that bad shot all day. Just bad, 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 and to kind of get back on track, you can, make some adjustments and get back on track. Thanks for sharing the link, Chaz. Yeah, I think this is yep, this is what you want. So the link that Chaz just put in there, it's free. Looks like there might be parts of it that you might have to pay for like the certifications and stuff like that, but you don't need the certifications. Um, there's a lot of great, free stuff in there. So Mike K says, what course would you recommend to go along with the shallowing course? I mean, it really just depends. Any of our courses, they're really just dependent on what you're looking for, right? We have lots of courses, right? So I wouldn't choose the courses. There isn't like a course like, oh, this course goes good with this course or whatever. It's really more about, what are you struggling with? And I would just take the courses that align with what you're struggling with. So if you're struggling with putting, right, we have a top speed golf putting system. That would be a good course to do. If you struggle with shallowing out the club, 20-minute shallowing fix would be a good course to do. If you struggle with distance, the 20-minute distance fix would be a good course to do. The If you're struggling with staying in your posture, the 20-minute posture fix would be a good course for you to do. We have lots and lots of courses, so I would just choose the course that. So there's two ways I would go about it. One would be, if you're someone who just wants to work on what you want to work on, then I would just choose a course that seems the most fun to you, right? Even if it's maybe not be the best, the thing that you need to do the most, but I would much rather have somebody that works on something that they like to work on and they're getting better at it than have someone that works on something they really don't, they hate working on it or whatever it is, even though they know they need to work on it, and they just kind of quit on it and they don't really end up getting better at anything, right? So if you're one of the, you probably know if you're a person like that, right? If you're that kind of person, then I would just choose something that you feel like you would enjoy to working on, and go through that and just enjoy it, and you're going to improve, right? So just do that. But if someone is like, heck, I want to play better, I want to play better, I want to do X, Y, or Z or whatever, I don't care what it takes, then evaluate your game, look at what, because really golf comes down to basically 5 areas, right? We have driver off the tee. We have approach, which is going to basically any full swing shot that you're hitting off the ground is going to be in an approach shot. What I put in the approach shot category, you're going to have, obviously there's subcategories within these, right? Because you're going to have shots out of the rough, shots out of the fairway, shots, out of a fairway bunker, that sort of thing. There's segments within that, but that's one. Another one's going to be like your distance wedges. So this can be any kind of wedge shot where you have to hit it a set distance. So like a 60-yard wedge shot, a 70-yard wedge shot. Some people might call them finesse wedges, distance wedges, same kind of thing, right? Then we're going to have short game, which is going to be basically anything within 30 yards of the green, right? So these are going to be like short pitch shots, chips, bunker shots. Again, there's segments, but that's kind of the area you might look at. And then putting, right? Those are really the 5 areas. So I kind of look at those 5 areas and look at where you struggle the most, where you feel like you're losing the most strokes, and then kind of keep peeling back the onion and what you need to work on. And that'll kind of show you what courses you need to work on. All right. So Chaz goes, I've been working or I've been reading. Golf is not a game of perfect, and it's helped me on the mental side of my game. Can you recommend another book like that one or other books that I would be a good read? So if you go to the resources tab on the website, we have some books on there that we recommend reading. Peak is one of them. Peak is just kind of like it's a book on like how people get better at anything. Here, I can actually, let's see here. I'll go to so if you go to the top of the page, you click resources. And then if you scroll down, you'll see all the training aids we recommend, stuff like that, golf tools and stuff like that. And then Every Shot Counts is a good one. That's one that's by Mark Brody. He's the guy that came up with kind of like the strokes gain. He's really into the analytics, so it helps you kind of understand. I think it's really good for managing expectations. because a lot of people, feel like they should hit every fairway and hit every green, and it gives you an idea like, okay, this is from this distance, this is what the best players in the world do, right? I saw something that was like from 100 yards or whatever. Tiger hits the green like 4 out of 5 times, right? And we're mad if we're not hitting it within 10 feet a lot of the times. So it's, the best players in the world aren't doing that. We can't really expect to either. So it helps you to kind of get into that. How I Play Golf was a Tiger Woods book. That's a good one. This one's a little harder to find. The Search for the Perfect Swing. It's a lot of the science of the swing and things like that. If you want to check that out. I'm surprised he doesn't have Peak on there, but Peak is another one. If you've done the Ball Striking Masterclass course, it's talked about in there. But yeah, that's why I can't remember. Golf is that a Bob Rotella book? I can't remember. But any book by Bob Rotella is going to be great for the short game, or not the short game, the mental game. He's really, really good with the mental game and that sort of thing. So yeah, any of those books, would be good. So Chaz goes on to say, can you go through the setup with the ball in the rough, light rough, and heavy rough? Well, if the setup's not really going to be any different in light rough, because if it's light rough, it's not really going to have an effect on how the ball is coming through too much. Now, you might have to evaluate the lie to see if it's kind of like a jumper. And what I mean by that is if the light rough may elevate the ball a little bit more, which means you might hit it a little bit higher on the face. And when you hit it higher on the face, the ball will launch higher with less spin, so it might go a little bit farther, right? So basically, you would want to be a little less aggressive, right? You would, so let's say you had a back pin, you're 150 yards out from the pin, and you had a back pin, right? And you were in the light rough, your setup's not really going to be any different, but you may not want to hit it at 150 shots or 150 yards, right? Because you may hit it over the green. So you may want to choke up on that club or take one club less. And again, it's going to launch higher with less spin. So it may go farther. And then when it lands on the green, it may roll out a little bit, right? So that's kind of what the light rough would be if you have that kind of lie. Now, if the ball is really sitting down, it's not going to jump on you. That's one thing. But not all light, rough lies are going to be the same. But if it's sitting up like that, you might have what they call a flyer lie, and you might take it like a club less. Still make a good swing on it, but take a club less. For heavy rough, you might put the ball position, more toward the middle of the stance or more back in the stance, and get the body forward and hit more down on it. Right, that's kind of what that would be. If you're really in some deep and heavy rough, it's really kind of just about advancing it as much as you can. Kind of just taking your medicine in that regard. All right. All right, so Chippy says, a few years ago, I took about 3 months of lessons from you. You really helped me and used the noodle to help me to stop slicing. I couldn't hit a slice for a couple years. I needed a review and started training with it again. It helps. I'm now 76 and using 75-gram shafts for my irons. I don't swing as hard as I used to, so I try 55-gram shaft and hit the ball higher, farther, and more consistently. To me, it makes sense. What do you think? Yeah, so if you hit a 55-gram shaft, it's lighter, so you might be swinging it faster. If you swing faster, you're going to tend to have a higher ball flight, and you're going to hit it farther. So makes sense to me. Yeah, for sure. bear with me here. Okay. So Rick M says, what can I do to get my 3 hybrid and 3 wood to fly higher? I hit both clubs well, but can't seem to get into the window I want. Yes. So the best way, it's not necessarily the easiest way, but the best way to hit the ball higher is to have more club head speed, right? So if we think about it, so let's say, if I use this alignment stick here, right? Let's say I'm launching, this is the horizon, right? And I'm launching it at the angle of this club, right? Well, let's say I have, just to throw a number out there, 50-mile-an-hour club head speed. That's really low, but I mean, just to throw a number out there, right? So let's say I have 50-mile-an-hour club head speed and I hit it at this launch angle, right? Let's call this launch angle 20 degrees, right? Well, that ball is going to climb in the air, and then eventually it's going to run out of energy. It's going to reach its apex, and then it's going to start coming down, right? Well, now let's imagine that I swing 70 miles an hour, right? 70 miles an hour now, and it's at that same launch angle. Well, that ball is going to have more energy, so it's going to continue to climb in the air, right? It's going to have a higher apex, and it's going to go farther, and that's going to kind of start to come out of the air, right? So the best way to hit the ball higher is to increase your club head speed. The reason why that is the best way is because you get the added benefit of also hitting the ball farther. It's much better to hit the ball higher and farther. And it's noted that typically the best players, it's not a coincidence that a lot of the top players in the world are longer hitters, right? That's not a coincidence. That is because it's just easier to play golf when you hit the ball farther. So my recommendation would be to work on getting more club head speed. The best way to work on getting more club head speed is to work through the 20-minute distance fix. That's our speed training course to help you get more club head speed. Yes, we do this course with a driver, but it trickles down to your other clubs as well. You're going to gain, when you work on club head speed with, even though you're doing it with the driver, you're not just going to gain it with the driver. Your other clubs are going to gain distance as well. So myself, I worked on the 20-minute distance fix. When we first came out with it, I gained, roughly about 8-9 miles an hour of club head speed, and my irons, I basically gained a club, with my irons. So yeah, and that was without necessarily even doing any speed or trying to do anything different with my irons. It's just that because I was swinging the club faster, it was trickling with my irons. The other thing would be to, basically have more loft at impact. So we want to be a little bit careful with that, because if you're already early releasing the club, you don't want to early release it more to get more loft. It could be a situation where you may not have enough club head speed to support having really low lofted clubs, right? Because that's part of what it comes down to as well. You may not have enough club head speed to support the shots that you're trying to hit. So one way you can get more loft is using a higher lofted clubs, right? So I don't know, a lot of these clubs are adjustable now. You can adjust them, add a little bit of loft to them. So that would probably be the easiest way to do it, is if you have that, to add some loft, adjust it to where there's more loft on the club. So that'd be one way. And the other way would be to, the release it a little bit sooner. So if you're coming into contact, right, and you're like this, right, well, coming into contact more with an earlier release, right, where we still have some shaftling here. That's why I'm saying you got to be a little bit careful with it, because we don't want to add loft and have the impact look like this, because you're just not going to hit the ball very well when you do that. You're going to tend to hit the ground and hit it thin and chunk it, things like that. So we still want to have our hands a little bit ahead. But if you're like this at impact, right, and then we go from having, still some shaft lean, but a little, maybe putting the ball position a little bit more forward, right, to let that club release a little bit more. Hitting fades, right, so that'd be another way. The reason why, maybe you're a drawer of the ball. When you draw the ball, you're closing the club face to the path. And when you close the club face, you also de-loft the club face, right? So that will lead to a lower ball flight. So if you're hitting draws with those clubs, you can maybe start hitting fades with them. Now, granted, they probably won't go as far, right? Because if you're adding loft, hitting fades, it may not go as far. But hitting a fade instead of a draw can help the ball to go higher. Um, Other ways would be, how if you're really hitting down on the ball a lot. So if you're coming in, you have that ball really back in the stance and you hit down on it a ton, that can make it launch lower. You also tend to have more shaft lean if you hit down on it more. So putting that ball position a little bit more forward and hitting up on it. I would also make sure that you're hitting it high enough on the face. You mentioned that you feel like you're hitting it well, but I would actually test it to make sure you use some foot power spray, or whatever it might be, and spray the club face, see where you're hitting on the face. If you're hitting it low on the face, you're going to tend to hit it low, because when you hit it low on the face twists and it launches lower. If you hit it higher on the face, it'll go higher. So making sure you're getting that higher on the face would be a good thing to do. Chaz says, any tips on hitting a 3-wood off the fairway? Well, is there a specific issue that you're having with hitting the 3-wood out of the fairway? Because it's really not any. The biggest issue that I see with people having trouble hitting fairway woods is that they push the ball position way too far forward. I get this all the time. I hit my 7-iron great, but then when I hit my 3-wood, I hit it terrible. Hit your 3-wood the exact same way you hit your 7-iron, right? Play the same ball position, everything the same. Now, by nature, longer clubs are going to be more difficult to hit, right? Imagine it like this club was 10 foot long, right? It's going to be a lot more difficult for me to get that in the sweet spot, right? Now, that's an extreme example, but it still exists when you're going from, a 7-iron to a 3-wood. It's a quite a bit different length club. If we look here, I got a driver here. Here's a driver. Here's a wedge, right? It's a foot difference, right? That may not seem like a lot, but it's a big difference. If you've ever choked up on your driver, just choke up on your driver like an inch, right? And it'll seem so much easier to hit just by doing that, just an inch choking up. So, and that's a tip that I would say if you're ever struggling with your driver, right? Really struggling to hit the middle of the face, just choke up on it a little bit. Choke up on it an inch, and then see if that helps. A lot of times that helps get it more in the middle of the face. You have a little bit more control of it. Now, you're not going to have as much club head speed, but you'll likely hit it farther than when you were mishitting it, because it's much better to, let's say you swing 100 miles an hour, but you don't hit the middle of the face, right? The ball might go 225 or something like that. But if you swing 97 miles an hour or 96 miles an hour and you hit the middle of the face, well, that ball is probably going to go like 240, 250, and it's going to go straighter and it's going to be more solid and things like that, even though there's a little bit less club head speed there. So obviously, I would try to use the length of the driver, the full length of the driver, if you're able to hit in the middle of the face. But if you're not, then try to do that. So what I'd say with fairway woods is understand you're not going to hit it as good as your irons, because by nature it's going to be more difficult to hit. But we want to hit it in a very similar way. So I find that a lot of people try to hit their 3-woods like they try to hit their driver off the tee, and if you do that, you're going to tend to chunk it, and you're going to tend to come over the top and things like that. So hit your 7-iron, then grab your 3-wood and hit it the exact same setup, same everything, same ball position, same stance width, same everything, and hit it. And I imagine you'll start hitting it a lot better. That would be kind of my main tip there. If you have a specific ball flight and contact issue, I can talk about that. So like, Rick talked about wanting to get the ball higher. I can give you more specific things, but without, with specific issue, I can only kind of give you a vague kind of tip.
So Graham C says, I sent you a question. Can you see it, G? I see this one, but I don't see. See here. The first question was from Reg N that said, my floppy golf hat survived the washing machine. I don't see any questions from you, Graham, other than what you just posted. If you don't see it in the chat, that I can't see it either. I'm not. Are you seeing it in the chat? Maybe it's farther up from yesterday or something. All right. So now I see a question from you. Graham says, "Hi Q, is there a danger that when shallowing the club, you will drop the club too far inside and end up hitting the ground before the ball, and also become too much inside out? That is my problem. Thanks, Graham." Yeah. You don't want to over shallow out the club, right? So yeah, you can definitely over shallow out the club. So yeah, we don't want to be overdoing it. If you find that you're overdoing it and you're getting like that block hook miss, then I would go to the last video of the 20-minute shallowing fix, the drill number 3, where Clay talks about kind of how we were straightening that out. So I would try to feel like you may want to feel like you're kind of coming over the top. Really, once you get the club in a right place, once you get the club in a good spot, what you want to do is practice hitting draws and fades so that you never get too far away. Because let's say you have a big slice. This is a pattern that I see sometimes for people who end up having a big slice and then they fix it. So let's say I have a big slice. I come over the top with an open face, right? Then I get it to where I'm shallowing out the club. And I keep with that feeling that I got to swing from. And when you do that, right, when you go from this to shallowing out the club, right, well, usually what's happening is you're trying to shallow out the club as much as you possibly can. Well, eventually you're going to adapt, right? And you're more than likely going to start shallowing out the club way too much, right? Because if you're trying to shallow it out as much as you can and then you're adapting, you're going to end up shallowing out the club way too much. And now you get it to where you're swinging too much from the inside. And when you swing too much from the inside, you may tend to chunk it. You may tend to hit behind the ball. You may tend to, do things like that. So yeah, that's really what it comes down to. So like I said, when you get to that point where we're getting that club to work from the inside nicely,
what we want to do is we want to keep monitoring that to make sure that we stay in the right spot. So hitting draws and fades, right? A fade where I have to swing a little bit out to in with an open face, and then a draw where I got to swing from the inside with a closed face. Doing that will help you to stay more neutral, right? Because if I can sit here and have my toes pointed at the target and hit a ball that starts to the left and curves to the right, and then hit a ball that starts to the right and curves to the left, right? And I'm able to control my face and my path, then that that would be that would be what I'd recommend doing to kind of keep you neutral. But if we keep trying to shallow out the club as much as we possibly can, you're going to end up probably shallowing out the club too much and end up with those chunks, right? So what I would do is, if you're swinging too much from the inside, I would get to where you can hit some slices, right? Then tone that down. Then work on alternating between hitting draws and fades. That's what I would recommend doing. So Charles H says, Trude, your advice to weaken my grip more. It appears to work fine and correcting my hook tendency, but I still feel like I need to work on my path. Yeah, so I mean, you can look on video, get on TrackMan, something like that. You can kind of see that. Your ball flight's also going to tell you. So basically, what it comes down to, if the ball is curving too much, right, then what that means is, if the ball is curving too much, then that means that the face is too open or too closed, right? So adjusting the grip would be what you'd want to do. If the ball is curving the direction you want and it's curving the amount that you want, but the ball's still not going in the right direction, so you're pulling it or you're blocking it to the right, then the path is the issue, right? So that's the way I would kind of look at it. If the ball is curving, too much or curving in the wrong direction, I would work on changing the club face at impact, right? And it doesn't mean you don't need to work on both. It just means that's what I would look at first, right? So if the ball is curving too much, or if the ball is excuse me, if the ball is curving in the wrong direction, we got to change the club face to get the ball curving less or curving in the right direction, right? But if the ball is curving the amount you want and it's in the direction that you want, so let's say I want to hit a draw, right? I want to hit a draw. I'm hitting a draw, but the ball is starting too far to the left. It's drawing the amount that I want, and it's drawing, which is what I want, but the ball is just going too far left. And that means that you're just swinging too far out to in. So if you were just to swing more into out and have the same club face orientation, right, then you'll get the ball to start to the right and curve to the left, right? So that's the way I would look at it. And this is all assuming center face strikes. You could, if the ball is not hit in the center of the face, then that can throw things off a little bit as well. All right, we'll go ahead and wrap it up right there. Thanks everybody for joining me. We'll be back here tomorrow, 11 a.m. Eastern time. Everybody have a great rest of your day, and I will talk to you next time.